People, Deluded, I'm back again. Quick words on Reiss Nelson, Emile Smith-Rowe, and a couple other Arsenal pointers off the top of the dome as we wait for Arsenal versus Watford. What was I going to talk about now? It's lovely to see Reiss Nelson get his 20-odd minutes off the bench against Hoffenheim and score his 7th, 8th goal of the season. I believe the first players to do that for Hoffenheim since Firmino. If he is, he's put himself in good company. We know, for me, it's been a great season of learning. He's had highs, he's had lows. He's learnt way more than he possibly would have learnt at under 23's level at Arsenal. He scored his goal. We know he hasn't been in the lineup at most. He scored. They won 2-0. He scored a headed effort. Lovely bit of movement from him. So it's a step in the right direction. We know ideally he wants to be starting games, but he scored he's up there in terms of their records for Hoffenheim for scoring 7 goals. He ended his own barren run. I'm sure he hasn't scored in about 11 games or so, stretching back to what it would probably be November. Was the stat I saw. Forgive me if I'm wrong. So yeah, it's been a good season for me for Reiss Nelson because he's learnt a lot. He's had the highs when it was all going right and he was scoring all them goals, the lows of being in and out the team, obviously the lows of the team's context with the season, the discipline issues and whatever, being in another country. He's learnt a lot, and I think he's alluded to he's not trying to do the loan thing next season. He's trying to push in Emery's immediate thoughts, so he should be sharper and ready to go and build with bigger confidence to go and do that, and I hope he does that. You know I like this 19-year-old. I really think Reiss Nelson's a baller. I think people need to be easy and consider that this is a man that's only played 16 times for Arsenal and however many games for Hoffenheim. Add them together for a career athlete, that's not that many games. What I'm saying by that is he's still developing. There's games he's going to be amazing, games he's going to be anonymous. And I feel fans, as much as we call for Nelsons and Sanjos and Adoys to play, you have to take the rough with the smooth. I feel, personally speaking, people, patience in football, particularly young players, is overstated, but it's very underrated. You see Sancho banging and he's doing it now, but it weren't plain sailing for him. And what I mean by that is, it weren't no adversity thing. There was a schedule. He didn't immediately go. You remember he was in the Dortmund's under-19s and people were blasting why he got called back from the under-17s World Cup to play there. Now he's doing his thing. Callum Hudson-Odoi, I agree with everyone. He should be playing week in, week out for me for Chelsea, but the game against Liverpool wasn't his best and he's still learning. There'll be games he's on fire. He's had great games, but it didn't happen for him. Nelson, if I remember correctly, didn't have the best of games against United at Old Trafford, but he had some other good games for us. So we need to let these players develop, and I want to see him play next season. Like Wenger says, if you're 19 and you're not ready, never will be. He's not going to be the finished article, but he's a local lad, and you want to see these guys play. Obviously, quick shout out to Emile Smith-Rowe as well. He's finally made his long-awaited debut for Leipzig, and it's going to be interesting next season what happens for him. Does he stay on? Considering he went on loan in January and he hasn't played now until April, where he almost scored in his first touch. He came on in added time. There wasn't anything of significance. What will happen next season? There's Nagelsmann to come into it, so he's going to get a good education. Nagelsmann, ironically, with Nelson right now, but Emile Smith-Rowe, best thing since sliced bread, ideally like Nelson at the academy. He's gone to a new team where he's been injured, but he has to earn the right of the manager there already, and then there's going to be a new manager coming in where every player is going to start from zero. Players that were out of favour might get a chance, players that were in the squad every week might not, so he's going to have to deal with that. Obviously, Nagelsmann, young player, will do his thing, but it's a good education for him on top of being in another country. Another reason as to why I think he'll stay permanently out there, because why would Arsenal send you out there knowing you're not fully fit and you're not going to really play games unless it was really to acclimatise to it, to really bed you in and get adduced to that. And on top of the two managers I've just said, you've also got Unai Emery, who clearly liked him because he was pushing, he was getting selected for Premier League duty, flying with the squad and that, earned his trust fully. So it's a good education for both of them, man. I know you lot have seen as well, just a quick little word of, if we get Champions League, we might get 70 million. That's not a lot, but I mean, that kind of puts into context where Arsenal are at in terms of finances and how important we need to get that, because we're obviously going to need to not penny pinch, but be a bit cerebral and a bit smart with how and where we spend our money in the market, because we're fighting against another beast. When you look at clubs like Liverpool, they've built a good team, but they can go out there now after they've had hard times themselves. For their fans, it's good. 75 on Van Dijk, regardless of his price tag, his quality. But you see what I'm saying? They're spending more than our budget on one player. I don't think spend is the solution, but you can see how this can present issues when you're trying to move forward and in the beast of what other clubs are doing. And I know you've also seen people, we've been linked with Dembele of Lyon, formerly of Celtic. He's a good player, but if I've just said we've got 70 million in the budget, and if you look at it, I would take him with open arms, but striker or striking options is probably the least sort of area we need to address. There's probably other areas fans and the manager would want to fix up in other areas. 70 million budget, you like to think he's on a good day we could pay 40 up front with add-ons, but you like to think that he's going for around, in today's football, probably 50 and a bit, pushing on the upper 60s or so, because of potential, because of all of these things, and because Lyon would want to make a good little profit on their investment, and they know they will eventually when he develops a bit. So we need to do that. So would it make sense to spend, let's just say 50 odd million from a 70 million budget? We'd be left with 20. That's before we talk about a centre half, possibly a midfielder. I know a lot of you, including myself, want a winger. There's also the debate as to what happens at fullback on both sides. Do we get some competition for Bellerin, long-term replacement for Monreal, someone to fight with Kola? I'm not too sure, but I'm sure you lot know the answers. So yeah, man, I just thought I would talk about these things briefly and quickly, more importantly. So yeah, right now I'm going to get out of you lot's hair. So yeah, man, for those who don't know context of this game, well, of this vid, we're about to play a game against Watford, so I'm going to shoot off, man. People, DG, thank you very much for always watching. Stay blessed, stay safe.